west roof by the computer labs needs to be replaced.
We're leaking like a sieve in computer labs, classrooms. The new CNC router room has a leak. Originally, with the building addition, the roof was supposed to have a green roof on it, but because of value engineering or cost cutting, that plan was removed from the project.
Green Grounds is trying to advocate for the green roof on Campbell Hall at this point, and so it's trying to build up support both among the student body, facilities, personnel, and the leaders of the architectural school.
One of the biggest benefits is stormwater related because it essentially functions like a monster sponge. And so during most regular rainfall events, there's no water that runs off that portion of the roof anymore. It's just absorbed and soaked in. And one of the other benefits that often gets talked about is it extends the life of your roof because you essentially have a protective layer over the material and you don't have the UV lights breaking down what's typically exposed. So in terms of a cost-benefit analysis, the fact that you can extend the life of your roof needs to factor in that.
In the summer, this roof could be up to 40 degrees cooler than the conventional roof. That translates into air conditioning savings below the roof. Likewise, in the winter, the roof's about 25 degrees warmer than that roof at times. So it's not getting as cold either, which translates into heating savings. Maintenance is really minimal to help the sedum plants not have to compete with other stuff. We come out and we'll pull up some weeds in the spring. It's maybe a 20-minute job, a couple people.
We found out that we had a crow problem. They did pull up a few tufts of the moisture retention mat, so I guess they took it home and worked it into the nests. But eventually they got bored, and the plants had a chance, and the roots spread.
Early on, we had crows pulling up some of the plantings. I'm not sure if they were using for nests or what, but they were pulling them up. We had a goose up here one time, just hanging out. We had a soaker hose go down the crown of the roof, and we camped here one day, and the thing was like sliced in half, and we think maybe some raptor thought it was a snake or something. But we didn't see that.
We've had issues with the plants getting burned because of the reflectivity of the waves of this metal decking, just kind of burning some of the plants. But other than that, I think it's been fairly successful.
I think as an architecture school, we're sort of an advertisement for ourselves, and if we have landscape architects here at the school, and and architects and planners, etc., and we have a roof that has sitting water on it where they keep adding rocks, that's a really bad advertisement.
Kind of like reclaiming the ground that's around the building. You kind of open up the earth when you build architecture, and it's a way of giving back when you put green roofs on top of what you've built.
It's so important that, you know, we become kind of a model community. We're a model school, we're a great school, and so there should be some sort of element to us that speaks of the ethos that we teach our students, that is just kind of a fundamental, yes, we acknowledge green roofs are good, and this is why we think they're good. And it's kind of like it just seems like a logical step, you know, in the creative process in a school like this.
An opportunity for the school to kind of act on what they preach.
If it's a usable space, so if it's not an entirely green roof, but that there's pavers sort of set out, and I imagine there would have to be anyway for maintenance purposes, and you could see people walking out there, it's just sort of an alluring thing, like what are people doing on the roof? And then maybe that brings them inside to look at what's going on.
That space is, I think it's a really unique space because it's not some roof that you have to climb up onto. There's a hallway that leads right out to it. It'd be a great place to have more meeting space, or you know, a place to eat lunch or a place to rest.
It's just important to have different spaces where people can study or relax. talk to each other.
That could be a really nice integration between all of our disciplines, which I don't know that we always get.
Like create this social realm that's not just on the ground but up above.
Even just having sort of like an outdoor picnicky type area with a green roof around you, I think that would be really fabulous.
How wonderful for all of the architecture and landscape architecture students who are in their studios around the clock to have something nice to look out to outside those windows. So psychologically, I think, and aesthetically, it would be great, something, you know, when people are in the building to look out and say, oh wow, there's a, you know, garden out there, you know, greenery.
I think that anytime you have people interact with a landscape, they become more connected to it. So I think that it has significance if it is just an artistic piece that you look at. I mean, the Museum of Modern Art in New York City has a piece on a green roof that is purely just for looking. No one can walk out on it. But it changes the dynamic of being in that building because you look out onto the green roof.
I think it'd be really interesting if the installation became a project that was incorporated for a studio or a particular course, being able to actually do the research ourselves and then installing it I think would be really funky.
My thought is that it would be best if it was a place for experimentation, for different classes to try different configurations of plants, different types of plants, and basically use it as sort of a laboratory to test how water is flowing through that area, how it's being retained, how the plants are surviving, and also sort of the heat gain from the buildings.
So architecture would be a fantastic place to experiment with vegetable gardening in coordination with a green roof, especially as an urban agriculture test area. It could be really just an example of what can be done in this space.
I think the only question, which I think is what everyone's trying to resolve, is just doing some research into the costs and the potential benefits. Beyond that, I think it would be a pretty amazing project for Campbell Hall.
If after there's some kind of cost-benefit analysis that happens, because it is a big cost, and if it's going to be overwhelming, then that's a reason not to do it. But if that has kind of been evened out, then I would be a full-fledged supporter of a green roof at Campbell Hall.
I would definitely be in support of it.
I'm really positive about it. I think it would be great, and I'd really like to have one.
I'm wholly positive for a green roof on Campbell Hall.
The School of Architecture at UVA should have a green roof.
Well, I am definitely pro-green roof.
The students really support it, and we really want a green roof.
Universities really should lead the charge with green roofs because they're principled institutions. They have the money to do it, and their aim should not always be financial. What they really aim to be is leaders in new ideas.
I can't see a single reason why it shouldn't be done, especially in this phase now where we're re-bricking the entire facade because it wasn't built right. This gives us an opportunity to make slight changes that makes this an even better building.
But I think that just where we are, you know, not just as a nation in America, but sort of, I think our distance from environmental issues and how much we use relative to the rest of the world is kind of significant. And the more that can be done to make people aware of, just aware of the environment, period, I think is a good thing.
If the question was, if you had to do it over again, would you? And I think we would. And there's a couple of additional projects where the idea of a green roof is on the table, so we'll see where it goes. Then in that sense, it's been a useful local experience on our own building.
I'm an engineer. I like things in black and white. It's good to do things because they're green, but it's also good to do things because the numbers work. And in this case, the numbers certainly work.
It was in the project originally for a good reason. The addition is not finished until we get a green roof down there. I mean, it would wrap the building. It takes care of all sorts of things. It's the right vision for the school and everything else.
Lush.
Strata.
Happy.
Social space.
Fresh and exciting.
Generative.
Ceiling that grows.
Awesome.
Learning environment.
Experimental and dynamic.
Gathering space.
Elevated park.
Intelligent.
Very sustainable.
Stress relieving.
Sponge.
Energizing.
Pervious.
Plants, herbs, berries.
Educational.
A living laboratory.
A place to hang out.
Surprising.
Displacement of the ground.
Relaxing. Very fascinating.
Lush communal spaces.